Please join us in prayer and pledge.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for your wonderful grace that you bestow upon us. We ask for your guidance and direction today as we address the business of the county. Give us your wisdom. We ask these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brent. We have Commissioner Smith out today. She tested positive for COVID, and Doug is out of town. So, public comment. A member of the public may address the board after receiving recognition from the chairperson and giving his or her name. Public comment shall be limited to a period set aside at each meeting for such purpose, and each speaker shall have the floor for no longer than 5 minutes unless the board grants an extension. Board of Commissioner Rules and Procedures and Bylaws 5.13-3. We also ask that you be respectful. With that said, public comment is open. Laura?
Thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to clarify for the record that our sittings of the district court, and in fact all the courts in Hillsdale County, are open to the public. There are some proceedings, for example, pre-trials, that are not actually sittings of the court. In other words, there is no judge or magistrate actually on the bench. These are just opportunities for both sides to get together and to try to hash something out. These are not open to the public, partly because there's nothing to see, but partly also because, attorney-client communications could be disclosed. But we are fully compliant with the law, and our courts are open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else wish to address at this time?
I would, Mark.
Bob? If you would, please.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, young man. In hoping that others would be here today, and obviously they're not, I guess it comes down to kind of, getting out to the public that it hasn't been done. This is an episode that took place with Brad Benzing, and for this reason I'm here today. My disgust is that I had to take over some issue downstairs a year and a half ago, and nothing such as even possibly going to enter into using my fist, threats of any sort, and I got arrested and put in place into the jail for such bullshit. Now, respectful? Yes. Now let's be respectful. So the first thing I can say is that what happened that day, Brad Benzing not only wanted to use his fist in anger, and he expressed his anger and yelled it out and was ready to take her on, Carla Adams. He didn't because he was stopped. Now, I was in the middle. There was another individual that did stop him. But for a county commissioner is BS. A county commissioner that can come out and start yelling at a public citizen and has traumatized is BS. He doesn't belong in that chair. Doesn't belong there anymore. He has troubles. He needs to get some help. This is BS. Now, Detective Martin took that idea and obscured the idea of bringing in what I had to write about it, and it was obstruction. So I don't know where that's going to go yet. But Brad, the door's right there. You went after a gal. The door's there. Don't let it hit you in the ass as you walk out. Have a good day.
Anyone else wish to address the board at this time? There will be another public comment at the end of the meeting. All right. Would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
There is in front of you a substitute for 2294. There was an issue with the language. Is there any questions on that?
I guess the only question I got is, with Commissioner Schmidt not here, will we have to change the resolution for the payables?
Guess I'm trying to find that one.
Yeah, it would be 091, so
It's done,
As far as
the
the
first
sig-
one. Yeah,
there we go.
Commissioner, would you just like to pull that and then we'll go ahead and make that change?
yes, we can do that.
I would be friendly with my support to pulling that. We'll put that,
Is there another one?
probably
The
in
Bronx
Bronx Fire, so we need 091, 092, 093.
So what, before we get to pulling things, what is your,
Because they're written as submitted by Commissioner Schmidt, and she's not at this meeting.
okay. Well, if you're gonna pull them, what do you propose, that they be submitted by the vice chair of budget?
Yeah,
Okay. It would be appropriate then to pull them to make that
Right,
amendment.
yeah.
So which ones back up?
91, 92, and 93.
Okay. And those will all go down under your report. Okay. All right. Makes sense. All right. With those pulled, all those in favor of the consent agenda as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving on, correspondence is listed. I believe Abe already got yes or no's on the MAC Policy Summit. The Michigan County's annual conference, I believe Kathy in her email to us indicated she was planning on going. Is there anyone else at this time aware or planning on going?
At this time, no.
Okay.
For me, it's too close to the
Fair.
following week.
Yeah. We've got some time on that, but pre-registration is cheaper, and I don't recall, I didn't write down the pre-registration date, but I know we do have, I think we've got till the middle, I think it's around the middle of August to make a final decision on that as far as pre-registration and getting the better cost. I do want to bring to your attention the letter from Department of Health and Human Services. I know I talked to Brad a little bit about this. Bay Pines is one of those institutions that we end up sending some children to. We don't send a lot there, so it's not going to be, I mean, it will impact us when we have a child there, but most of the time, they're there for a short period of time, primarily because of the services provided by Bay Pines. And I also explained to Brad, if that child becomes, which is through a court process and DHHS process, if they become a ward of the state, state board and care, we don't pay anything. So there's some things that play into that, but I don't anticipate that being a huge financial burden in '23 or going forward. But they did have to double their costs, which I thought was a little excessive, but it's been, what, 10 years.
2010 or.
Yeah, I want to
so
say
it's
at least
been-
10 years since
yeah.
they raised the price, so. But that's not the only state facility we use either, so, you know. But is there anything else on correspondence? Anyone? All right. Regular agenda?
Motion to approve with the 3 that we pulled and moved down under human services.
I'll support that.
We're kind of light today.
Yes. Okay, anything else on the regular agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving right along, that brings us up to Keith. Yeah, this is a little strange being light.
There's no one here. Well, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
I hope you're having a good day, and the day gets better after this morning's situation. But on Reading's behalf of what's going on, I wanted to give you our quarterly update. This is from the time frame from April 1 to June 30th. Our average response time for ALS life-threatening is 11 minutes and 53 seconds. Our average stat transfer time is 25 minutes and 2 seconds. Our ALS non-life-threatening is 13 minutes and 35 seconds. Our staffing level is doing pretty good throughout the summer. A big part of that is the Hillsdale College kids, young adults, are out of school right now, and they're picking up a lot of hours. Some of them went full-time, and we've got 3 trucks running quite often now, which is good. Once the young adults go back to school, we'll probably be back down to our 2 ambulances, but we're still trying to hire a few more. I did list the number of employees that we have currently listed there for you. We do have 1 paramedic in the pre-employment phase. She hasn't committed yet with us, but it would be nice if we could get on another paramedic, because we're pretty heavily strong with EMTs right now. Other than that, I want to hit on the call volume from January 1st to June 30th. We have emergency calls right now where we've done 1,514 calls.
What page of your report is that on, Keith?
What's that?
That would be, did you get this copy here?
Yes, I did, I got it here.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's on
comparing.
page
I got
29.
it. Checked my eyes here this morning, so.
All right, so emergency calls are 911 calls that we're bringing in, and we're doing 1,514. And I've got the year's comparison to 2021, and you can see we're down 81 calls. Transfers, we're at 256, and compared to last year, we're up 32 transfers this year at the same time frame. Refusals, we are down 81 calls, which is good. Because if you look at the emergency calls that we're down is 81, and our refusals hit it right on 81. So refusals are the calls where we go and maybe do a lift assist, or maybe there was a diabetic and we wake them up with some dextrose, and then they sign off, they don't go to the hospital, or maybe somebody just wanted their blood pressure checked. Those are us taking our units going somewhere for really a non-medical need. You know, they're just more, well, some of them do need medical attention, but we take care of it and then they stay home, they don't go to the hospital. But it's kind of a wash if you look at it. So we're down 81 calls, but we're down 81 refusals, which is a good thing. And we're up the transfers. Unable to handles 96, we're up 1. I would have hoped to have dropped that number. But as we were looking at the canceled calls, now these canceled calls are, I think, is the big equation of how we're going to be able to drop the unable to handle, and that comes with time as well. The unable to handle is the ones at Hudson, Somerset, Emergent Health Partners, which is Life Care, comes in, and then maybe Steuben or Williams County, they come in and help us out as mutual aid. The canceled calls are, what happens with those is if our reading car is gone on a transfer and then there's a call in the southwest corner of the county and our Hillsdale County car goes to it, we're dispatched to a lift assist. Well, that takes our crew out of service. So they're going to this call and they might be heading to it and they're halfway south of town and a call comes into Scipio. Well, that's where they're gonna have Somerset come in. They're gonna dispatch them if they're available. And Somerset will go to Scipio because we're out of cars. And then once we get to this call, basically, it may have been a false call. So these canceled calls eat up our time that we're going to them. And it's nice when the first responders actually go to these calls first because they usually respond, they get there quicker than us, and then they will cancel us off it. But that still answers another canceled call. So it pulls our truck out of service because it's dedicated to this call. If we, in those, if you looked at priority dispatching, and I've been down this road before, is if we had priority dispatching, that would be considered a priority 3. Well, it used to be maybe 10 years ago. I'm assuming it's the same concept now, is no confirmed patient, whatever the situation is, priority 3, we're going. So if a true emergency call came in, chest pain, diff breather, something of that nature that would require a priority 1 response, our unit would get re-diverted to the priority 1 call, then somebody else would get diverted to the priority 3. Neither here nor there. Another area, I want to go down to the assist care, the wheelchair van service that we offer. That has been up tremendously. We're up 101 calls this year so far. So we've done 267. One of the areas that I don't know if a lot of people pay attention to what Reading does, they just believe we're an ambulance service. But we offer 3 different services out there as well to the community. We do a lot more actually, but the 3 services that I want to key in on is our critical care. Critical care, as I've been looking at it, financially, if you look at it, it's a loss for REU. We have 6 critical care paramedics that we pay them at a higher wage. Our critical care transports are down a little bit. We have trainings, we have to pay them for all of that. But it's a service that if we didn't do it, these are your ventilator calls, your multiple drip calls, the other ambulance services around us does not provide this. So they would have to get somebody else from outside our area to come in and do this, and that might be kind of challenging at these times due to the staffing shortage everywhere. So that is a service that we're continuing to go down, is the critical care, and that's a big factor, because that's a lot of calls, you know, that we do that otherwise would be sitting at the hospital in days of when the helicopter's not flying. The other area I want to hit in is the assist care service, the wheelchair van. That is not another service that we make money on. It's a break-even service is what we're looking at. We have 3 employees at this time that does it. No medical license is required. They do need a CPR card, but they're the ones that take the patients to their dialysis patients, our residents. There's a couple other businesses that come in here and help out with that. However they go through and get them scheduled to come. But if they call us, the hospital calls us, we try to get them a person to come in and take them where they need to go with our wheelchair van. The other service that we offer is community CPR. We're not just CPR certified, we're an actual training center. So I have instructors that work underneath our training center, and those instructors that we have are 25 right now. I've went through a few of them, we had more, but over the time frame and requirements that I was looking at, we're down to 25 instructors. And if you look at that, we're Hillsdale College, we got instructors there, Hillsdale Medical Care Facility, Hillsdale County ISD, Hillsdale County Sheriff's Department, I believe she works in the jail area, Jonesville School, and we have a couple instructors at the University of Michigan and other areas. So those instructors come through us, they teach the classes where they're at, and then they come to us because we're the training center and we actually are the ones that provide the cards to them. So a CPR instructor can't just get cards, they have to go through their training center, so they have to be affiliated, and that is what Reading Emergency Unit is, the training center. So we're able to accommodate our community the best we can. And we also offer quite a few classes. So, but that's all I have at this moment. Is there any questions I can answer? All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Brad, I guess that brings us up to you,
Right.
and you can start with your action items.
Yeah, we'll go 22091. To the Honorable Board of Commissioners, we recommend approval of June 2022 payrolls in the amount of $386,798.58 and payables and transfers in the amount of $4,057,133.31. Accounts payable check numbers 201771 through 202276. Respectfully submitted, Brent Laniger, Vice Chair, Budget Committee.
Support.
And Marnie has made those adjustments, or, for your name, and so Abel's just in one of
The
the...
Treasurer's Office.
David will probably be entering sometime, or one of his.
We'll get them printed and signed before you leave, is my point. So, any questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes, please continue.
22092 to the Honorable Board of Commissioners. We recommend payment of $3,442.88. Big difference there. 56%, which covers the period of January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022 to Brogs Fire Services, Inc., P.O. Box 404579, Atlanta, Georgia 30384-4579 for the county share of third-party service fees and reinsurance premium for the self-insured workers' compensation program for the fiscal year 2022. The balance of $2,705.12, or 44%, will be paid by Hillsdale County Medical Care Facility. We further recommend payment of $3,442.88 be taken from the workers' comp budget account 100-101-270.08-995.001. Respectfully submitted, Brent Laniger, Vice Chair, Budget Committee.
Support.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes, please continue.
22093 to the Honorable Board of Commissioners. We recommend payment of $9,208.20 to the Michigan Association of Counties, 110 West Michigan Avenue, Suite 200, Lansing, Michigan, 48933 for the fiscal year 22-23 dues for Hillsdale County. This period covers July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023. We further recommend payment of same be taken from the membership and dues account 101.101.00-810.000. Respectfully submitted, Brent Laniger, Vice Chair, Budget Committee.
Support.
Any comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes, please continue.
All right, the rest of the action items. Commissioner Schmidt's not here, so I will mention it. Everybody should have received a hard copy of the audit this morning to take home and review, and we will be reviewing that with the audit firm Anderson Techman at next board meeting on the 26th.
Sixth. Yes.
Yes, the 26th, so, I did catch one error in that needs to be corrected, so, Mr. Vice Chair. MSU Extension's posting for the 4-H Extension Educator for Hillsdale County closes today. I don't have an update as to how many applicants they have at this point in time, or if they have any applicants, but that is closing as of today. So if anybody's interested, I do believe the base salary on that starts at $40,000 a year. So they can apply at MSU website for that position. On the health department, my community choice dental clinic continues to search for a dentist for Hillsdale County. So they hope to have that position filled in the near future. The senior center, Commissioner Wiley, we got an email here briefly just before the start of our meeting this morning from Terry Beer at the senior center. Wants to continue to work on revisions to that contract between the county and the senior center, so hopefully we can do that here in the near future.
Did you see, excuse me, did you see Rebecca's email?
Yeah, I'm not going to say yes, I did, but yes.
Okay.
But, yeah. No. We can't.
It really
Look
doesn't
at that,
confirm
delivery
any,
service.
it doesn't confirm anything other than there was a dentist that toured it.
Yes, there was a dentist that toured it, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So we're continuing to work on getting that position
Right.
filled. And the health department is, continuing to work at trying to get some paving done at the parking lot here at the Hillsdale office. And they also want to work on updating their signage up there at the health department building. The building process is ongoing in Brooklyn at Region 2 Area Agency on Aging. And that's started, getting all the excavation work done and everything else on that new building there in Brooklyn. Yes, that is really all that I had. Was at Pittsford Township last night. They hope to have their addition finished in time for the August primary election. So
The election workers will like that.
they'll actually have central air conditioning, actually have indoor plumbing. Wheatland Township continues to search for property for a new township hall because there are many issues. Their building doesn't have any plumbing either, and they are very limited in parking availability where they're at on Waldron Road. So that is all that I have this morning.
Commissioner Weiner, I was curious as a school board member, what do teachers start at in the county? I'm looking at that posing against the MSU educator position because looking at the requirements, you got to have a few years of working with youth groups, the education requirement. So to me, it would seemingly be, similar to that. And I'm wondering if that's one of the barriers to
That, that's going to vary from one district to the next.
right.
And I would have to pull up, that's one of the nice things about the State School Aid Act is it requires school districts to put their collective bargaining agreements, public school districts to put their collective bargaining agreements online for the public to see. I would have to go and look at all of those to see what each district offers that as that starting wage. A little different than here at the county, we're not required to do that.
Right.
So, but that is readily available, and I can't even remember right now where even Waldron's at for that entry-level first-year teacher, but it's not, I don't believe it's 40,000.
I was just curious if that might be a barrier to, applicants because we have not, and everyone has a shortage of applicants today for open position. So
They, in the first posting, they did have some applicants, but they just didn't feel that they were the quality of applicants that they were hoping for. So I'm hoping to get a reply back from the MSU staff letting me know where they're at as far as number of applicants at this point in time, but I don't have that information.
Thank you.
Anything else? You're up next, Brad.
Alrighty. The sheriff received a bill from Branch County, which we contract with in excess of $800 for boarding a dog that was involved in a dog bite legal case. And the dog, since then, has been released back to the owner. I did request that the sheriff submit to Mr. Thompson our contract with Branch County to see what our legal obligations were. We actually did get a bill. Commissioner Wiley and I were reviewing mail last week. We did get a bill from Mr. Thompson for looking at that. I did follow up with the sheriff. It is the owner's responsibility. We do not, basically in our contract, we help them build that shelter. We don't make payments to them for boarding dogs. Since it was court ordered that that dog be held, it's Mr. Thompson's belief that the owner of that animal is responsible for that boarding fee on it. And so Branch County's been responded to accordingly on that. Central Dispatch had this dispatcher resign over the weekend. It's creating a critical staffing shortage out there. The director and the management personnel committee are trying to come to an understanding with the 911 unions. We have 2 unions out there, a dispatcher and then a supervisor union, to allow for the implementation of 12-hour shifts. That is a subject that has been under discussion for a number of months. And trying to find the scheduling seems to be the big hurdle there, whether they're going to be all 12s or they're going to be 12s and 8s. And so we will continue to work on that so that we can see that we have adequate staffing. With the personnel we have right now, if we were to go to 12 hours, we would be able to handle where we're at as far as the number of people that we have. Last Friday, I had an opportunity to meet with Representative Fink regarding fire and EMS personnel issues, the ongoing shortage that we have. Mr. O'Neill from RU talked a little bit about that, about keeping cars up and calls it unable to handle. And that's not just an individual agency, it's not a Hillsdale County agency, it's not a statewide agency, it's a national crisis that we have. As an EMS educator, long time working in the field, he had asked me if I'd be able to give him a little bit better understanding of that situation. We talked about the over 2,000 people, EMS licensed personnel that did not renew their licenses. We currently have about 1,000 members short to fill out schedules across the state of Michigan, both at the paramedic and the EMT level. He is looking at what we might be able to do on a state policy level to help increase the number of people that we have. One of the things that is being talked about right now with the State Department of EMS is we went to, about 10 years ago, requiring that all paramedic programs in Michigan be accredited, and they had to go through an accreditation process. RU actually used to run a paramedic academy, and it was pretty common at fire departments that they would run paramedic programs. They would have instructor coordinators at the paramedic level. They would be able to host those programs and run them. The accreditation process costs tens of thousands of dollars before you take in the first student. And then you have to get people through that program. So the state is currently looking at removing that accreditation requirement. That has to work hand in hand with National Registry of EMTs because they currently require graduation from an accredited program to test. So the state of Michigan is actually looking at creating their own test. In response to that as well, National Registry is actually looking at dropping their requirement for graduation from an accredited program. So I don't know that lowering the bar is necessarily where we want to go with that, but when you look at the graduation or the pass rates at National Registry, it's only about 2/3 will pass of paramedic applicants for the National Registry will pass on their first try, and it only increases up to 70% on the third try. So we really do need to do something to make our education more closely parallel what we are testing those students are. Also, in my meeting with him, as part of the new state budget, there is going to be some funding for school resource officers. That is something that I've been talking with the sheriff in regards to, about establishing a school resource officer for our county schools, and looking at that next year's budget. The sheriff is going to follow up and with the Sheriff's Association to see how we might apply for some of that funding. So hopefully we can get that instituted for next year, if we can find the personnel. That it always comes down to if we can hire the deputies. We were going to have the updates to the onboarding list. We still have some tweaks to do with that, some language, and so the plan is right now that I will have that at our next meeting. We were right at the cutoff. We needed to have things for agenda in a day early last week, and so we just need to get those final tweaks on that. So hopefully we will have that at our second meeting this month. We do have a Public Safety and Judiciary Committee meeting scheduled. Commissioner Ingalls and myself will be meeting with Judge Syverson and Magistrate Ray on July the 26th. That'll be in the afternoon after our next commissioner meeting. We're going to be talking about some space usage issues over in the courthouse annex building. The Ambulance Association meets this afternoon at 5. Prevention Works meeting on July the 14th. Fire Association on the 18th. 911 Board on the 20th. And it's almost Faster Horses time, and I'll be up on scene for 3 days of entertainment. Honestly, that event is the largest hosted by the Speedway, Michigan Speedway, International Speedway. They used to have 2 NASCAR races. Attendance at all NASCAR events has been off for a number of years now. That is now the biggest single event they host, and it brings in an incredible amount of money into the Brooklyn area every year. Really, really amazing. So it takes a lot of logistics to put that event together, so it will be interesting. I also brought along Prevention Works. We received some additional funding as part of the opioid settlement. I believe it's SOAR funds. So about $17,000. And one of the things that we did with that is we purchased some of these Terra bags. We actually bought the next larger size. This is a small size. What these are is they are a disposal aid for unwanted medications. And so what you can do is you try to top off on their individual use. You can pour either liquid medications or pills into this. You add water to it. There's a Ziploc on the top. You seal it up, kind of manipulate it around, and it then makes it into an inert, unusable mass that then they can be properly disposed of, and then that it eliminates the ability for them to be improperly used by someone. Also, as part of that, we have multiple locations for unwanted medication disposal. One of the issues, though, is the liquid stuff. These are really, really nice if you have liquid medications. But we do have a disposal site at our Sheriff's Department. We have one at Hillsdale City Police. There is one at Litchfield at the City Hall, and one up at Somerset Township Fire Department. We authorized purchasing some banners at those locations to better inform the public, and we are also going to be creating some publications that can be passed out. These will be available through the Senior Center, and we will also have some other locations that they will be available for the public. There's no cost to the public whatsoever for them. And that concludes my report, unless you have questions for me.
Couple of things. Number
Yes, sir.
one, I know we've received many of those from pharmacies before, so I don't know if our local pharmacies, and at no cost, I don't know if our local pharmacies pass out those Terra bags.
I can check with the Net Frosh down at Community Pharmacy. So,
Yeah, and so I don't know, or if the other pharmacies. You mentioned the state budget.
Yes.
The 25 million is in the school aid fund.
okay,
It's not in the Michigan State Police Fund, that's in the school aid fund for
okay,
the school resource officers. So I've been trying to find that actual language in that Appropriations Act. So
and of course it hasn't been signed yet, so we really don't know.
if it's gonna be there or not.
Right.
The other thing is, and I've had conversations with Representative Fink as well about that budget. And because the State House the budget bill that they had passed earlier this year that went through the Senate to the conference had included $100 million in grant money for counties to apply for upgrades to their 800 mega or to emergency communication system. And none of that money was included in the final general appropriations bill that was passed. There were another large sum of dollars directly allocated to specific projects around the state. If you add those up, total in excess of $1 billion. We did not get any of that money here in Hillsdale County. But there were other counties that got money for communications, towers, as well as multiple other projects. I have been in contact with Representative Fink on that, and he's continuing to push for hopefully a supplemental appropriations that we could maybe receive some funding there for our 800 megahertz system.
Hopefully that might come through.
Yeah. I know, I think it was Berrien County, which is fairly close. I think they got ear tag 5 million for their radio.
I would have to go back and look at that. I mean, there's
Yeah, well, like you say, some counties did, but hopefully Andrew can get something in supplemental. But a comment as far as central dispatch. And I replied to her a minute ago to set it up. We need to do a Zoom Thursday afternoon sometime. We're at her mercy, so to speak.
Okay.
But we need to get something in place along the lines of a letter of understanding to implement a 12-hour shift ASAP. As Thomas and I and you have talked, his proposal would allow us to continue operating without having gaps. Now, whether that's not the same, I know I sent you some material last night. Neither of us probably had time to sort through all of it, but it is different. Thomas's proposal is different than the proposal from the union as far as 12-hour shifts. But if we can at least get an LOU, and that's what Gary wants to talk to us about Thursday afternoon. So we'll, as soon as she lets me know, I told her to set up the Zoom call, and we'll just have to, make time for it. So
I will let you know, because I have a couple of commitments. I have Prevention Works, and then I have an education thing.
Yeah, let me know as soon as you can, and I'll shoot her those time conflicts if there is.
Okay.
I mean, she's usually pretty good about even doing a 5 o'clock if we have to.
Okay.
We've done
later
that
would be
before.
better.
I mean, I'm okay with that too. It's just we've got to get it done sooner than later to keep the doors open out there.
Right.
So, okay. Anything else for Brad? All right. I guess that about takes care of PLC out there.
well, let's talk before we go on here.
Please.
And just before we get to your report, Mr. Chair, facilities and technology. Doug had sent an email out last week when he indicated he wasn't going to be here. Commissioner Schmidt was going to go over that, but she's unable to join us this morning as well.
Yeah.
The courthouse roof, looks like contractors getting stuff there, starting that process. But it looks like, was the whole east side available for parking yesterday?
There were cars over there. I don't know. There was the best decision to park your car over there.
It's like
But
less than 10 spots, and it's probably the judges and Marty and,
Yeah.
yeah.
there's
So,
a lot of big trucks going in and out of that lot yesterday.
so that is ongoing in regards to that, and we can all redirect to Commissioner Engel's report. One thing I did want to mention underneath budget here. After our last meeting, Commissioner Schmidt and I met with Derek, got a letter around and sent out to all the department heads starting the 2023 budgeting process, sending out those notifications of budget requests, and those budget requests are due in by August 5th. So department heads need to get their budget requests in by August 5th.
Commissioner Wildman and I did work on our, for the commissioners last week, so I think that we're pretty close on that. I did also want to report on your facilities that the farmer's market, they will be locating to the north side of the courthouse on the area around the fountain. They are also, at least for 1 week, I believe that they have a temporary position, but it has to go before council to close McCullum Street between the courthouse annex building and the historic courthouse. That very short, certainly a block area there. The reason being they have some vendors who have trailers that they have to bring in, and so if they're able to close that street off, that they can park those trailers and have those vendors then that need those for the product located there on the street. The rest of the vendors, they did have a meeting after last week's market and got eyes on where their spaces would be. So if you do have any concerns from any of your constituents in regards to that, Randy's been very accommodating, and we have offered the green space down on the other end of the building until such a time, and hopefully the city of Hillsdale will give them that temporary traffic order to continue to utilize the street there on Saturday mornings.
And I guess to add to that, I see in Doug's report, he said that, and this primarily, I guess, refers to staff, but if there's anyone going to the courthouse that is going to be there for more than 2 hours, don't park along the streets, because according to his report, the city is enforcing the 2-hour parking limit as far as along the street. So use the lower lot, which is down by the county garage or the corner of McCullum and Ferris Streets, or the Midtown parking lot, which is right across the way here. So.
And if you're an employee, please don't park in the bank lots, because we ask them not to park in ours.
Right, exactly. So, little inconvenience for a period of time, but we'll get through it. Anything else as far as facilities? Okay, thank you for bringing that up. That's something the public does need to know. Let's see. I'll jump back here to Terry's report, and I'll give you his report on oops, wrong one. Wrong Terry. I had it here a minute ago. Facility report or facility update at medical care facility. The facility is experiencing an increase in COVID-19 cases among residents and staff. We currently have 7 residents in our isolation unit, and I did send this to you, and Marnie printed it off for you, so you know that. So that is in your inbox. We currently have 7 residents in isolation.
Thank you.
Unit related to testing positive for the virus, and since this outbreak began, we have been able to discharge 5 from the unit back to their rooms. We currently have 12 staff members off work related to testing positive for the virus. Last week, we performed over 500 rapid COVID-19 tests in the facility. We have the ability to provide the antiviral medications to those residents eligible for therapy and are seeing good results. The facility has been working in conjunction with Branch Hillsdale St. Joseph Community Health Agency and appreciate their continued support. Per CMS, visiting does continue following a brief health screening and enhanced PPE. Rapid COVID-19 tests are made available to all visitors prior to their visit. We have temporarily stopped communal dining and group activities at this time. CNA classes are scheduled for the beginning of August, and anyone interested in becoming a CNA, please contact the facility Human Resource Department. And I guess I should say CNA is Certified Nursing Assistant. But that's Terry's report. I think I shot everybody an email last week, kind of giving you a brief update. But that's ongoing, and we'll continue to monitor that situation. So, most of them have been in communication with Terry. Most of them have been fully vaccinated, and they're responding well to the antiviral treatments. So, God willing, we don't have any deaths like we did, 2 years ago or whatever it was. All right. Now, Bruce Caswell called me, and as he's come before us, and he's working on these grants and other funding mechanisms for Lewis Emery Park and the parks in general and the ponds. And he wanted to know, on the one, there is a space of how much the county is willing to commit. So he's able to get enough money to, basically with no strings attached, to do one pond, but he said that he's talked to the folks up there in Lansing, and he can probably get some money towards some of the other ponds, but how much are we willing to indicate, that we're willing to kick into the project? So I guess that's maybe something that budget needs to discuss. And does that come out of what fund? The number that he threw out, that if we could put on his form when he submits it, and he needs to know in fairly short order, within the next couple weeks, or less. But the number he was looking for was 50,000. So if that's a number that we can find within the budget to put on that, and it wouldn't come out of 22's budget, it'd come out of 23 or 24, but that helps to show to the state that we have a stake in the game, that we're not just
You know what
begging.
grant that,
Pardon me?
you know what grant that match is for?
He didn't give me a specific name on it. But I can certainly reach out to him again on that, Brett.
I'll leave it there on that.
If 50,000, when you're talking the amount of money that we're talking out there, I think that's a pretty minute investment. Especially if we can enhance that facility out there, or that park, I should say. But, yeah, if you want to get to Derek, and I will certainly call him back and ask him what the specific name of that one is. So. Being now it's the first part of the month, I haven't had any other meetings other than district meetings. And I know Montgomery had an interesting discussion last night on their village property taxes, and they voted to, stay on pat. And so they'll be at the same rate that they've been for several years. They are holding a informational meeting Thursday evening at 6 o'clock at the Legion on looking for public input on whether they should allow a medical or
Dispensary.
yeah, I forget exactly now whether it was, they were talking basically all. So that, if they propose their ordinance, they would probably propose like one of each. I think that's what the discussion was, but what they finally do after this, basically a public hearing, they're looking for input from the citizens of the village, so.
I know the discussion in Jefferson has been to do away with their medical dispensary licenses because there is absolutely zero demand with recreational now. Basically, those people who were paying $200 and some to get a prescription for a card are no longer doing it because as long as they're 21, that they can legally purchase. So the requests for medical licenses is nil, at least in that area of my district.
Okay.
And they are the only township that does allow for dispensaries. So they have one now, and they'll have a second one that they just approved in Pittsburgh, right on the township line.
I know one of the things that they asked me to check on
Close
was,
to you?
No, it's not close to me.
they wanted me to check with the sheriff if he had any information on whether in county or out of county, you know, as far as, one of their questions was, is what has happened crime rate wise when you have a dispenser or a grower or whatever within your community. And so I've reached out to the sheriff and, you know, I'll provide them back that information, but, you know, the other thing is I've got the information that we've all seen as far as what the revenue has come back to the county or to the communities that have facilities. And that's one of the things that they're looking at right now, based on the fact that their only source of revenue is from property tax, and seeing how they froze it again. You know, and every cost of everything's going up,
Well,
so.
they do receive revenue sharing from the state, and that's going up, what, 6% next year for, if the budget is signed.
Thank you.
And villages also do receive Act 51 money, so their street maintenance
Right.
does have a funding source that is separate.
Separate
Whereas
from-
a township, they have to do that out of either their township tax or from any road millages they might have, or their
Right.
state revenue sharing. Villages actually receive directly Act 51, but they are
Yeah.
responsible for the roads in their village.
Well, and there was discussion on that when they had their, you know, roads person. They've got more holes and more road issues than what the money will cover. I mean, that's, of course, that's a common thing, but, you know, I don't know, they're looking just like the discussion that went on at Camden Village, the discussion that's gone on at a lot of these places. You know, if you bring in the marijuana industry, what revenue does it generate? Will that help us fix some of our ailing infrastructure? I know Reading, I think, is going to use most of their money this year to replace lighting and sidewalks. You know, so they've got a plan. So, you know, that's a lot of where that discussion is evolving, is can they generate enough money to help with their infrastructure? So, but, so that's Thursday night, if anybody's interested in attending that at the Legion, at 6 o'clock. That's all I have, unless there's a question or comment. As Brad indicated, I see Derek sent me, I still couldn't open that spreadsheet properly, so he sent me a new version as far as plugging in the numbers that Brad and I had for the commissioner budget. But, all right. We're back to public comment. Anyone wish to address the board at this point? Roy? Shannon? Lauren? Bob? Come on down. Let's see if the price is right.
Oh, we can jump on that. What I indicated earlier was about Brad Benzing's and his assault, and that those that were here will witness, which was Mark Wiley and Kathy, along with Brett Leninger. And I don't think that Brad really knows just how much he's put them. There is no safety net. You cannot adjust and let them take the blame and letting something ride itself out. That door is open for you to take your resignation and walk the hell out of here. The other is, there's a recording. It took 2 minutes, 48 seconds for that entire transaction to take place. 18 seconds into it, there was another individual all the way at the other end of this hall. Kathy put out on a limb here, saying and cried, making her statement that she didn't want to interfere. Unbelievable. Mark Wiley, a veteran, he didn't interfere. And you guys are sitting right back here in this conference room, and you guys couldn't come out and assist, or at least say something. You didn't want to inflame it? That sounds like something like Neil Brady would bring up. You're sitting out there on the prosecuting attorney's table there, Brad. I'm sure you guys can make up anything you guys damn well want to. But it's not going to get away. It's time. Damn, I was trying to be as good and courteous as I could be for each and every one that's up here. I've seen nothing but greatness coming out of here. And one simple incident, just by Brad Benzing alone, screwed this up. Screwed this up for me. I've been enjoying and watching. I loved what was coming out of this conversations. But now, no. To hide this from the county, the residents, BS.
I think you've made your point, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
How much more time do I have? What, 30 seconds?
You've got a couple minutes if you want, but I think you've made your point on that issue.
All right. Well, to get my point across doesn't seem like it's going very far. My apologies to you, Mark. To be holding up and seeing how things were done before against my person, and I did nothing, and I was arrested for it. I see that somebody that's on the board here doesn't belong in the public eye any longer. He needs to be removed. And again, no way in hell would I put up having somebody, no. And if I have to make my point across the next time and the next time and the next time, I will. So I have approximately, 1 minute, 37 seconds left or so? So let's get it from there. I'll just, at this point, I'm going to stand here in silence. Let me know. And I'll be glad to help you out the door, Brad. I'll walk you to the door.
Well, if you have nothing further to say, I'd like to open it up to the other public to speak.
I have my 5 minutes, Mark.
You do, sir.
Thank you. In my last 17 seconds, keep this in mind. The only thing I want to say is Detective Martin took my report, and regardless of the report, called me at my place. I came in. He did not take a report. He did not let me sign my report. He did not let me have that entry, did not let me see that and take a picture of what I had, and did not record it. So obstruction, yeah. Detective Martin at the City Police Department, useless. Anyway, thank you.
Thank
have a
you,
great day.
Bob.
You got it, Bob?
Anyone else? Steve, you want to comment? Thank you for coming. Okay. All right, additional business. Brent?
I did get an email. There are currently 6 applicants for the MSU Extension 4-H educator positions, so.
You said 6?
6,
Wow, okay. That's good news.
yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Brad?
Just a reminder, the city of Hillsdale will be starting construction today on South Howell Street, right at the south end going out of the city of Hillsdale. So you might need to vary because the alternatives to that are Bear Lake Road to Steenberg Road, M9 and V9 and around, or to Cambria Road. And if you're going to go over to Cambria Road, if you're coming from the south, want to stay on paved roads, Carve Road. So it's a fair amount south. If you forget and you want to go over to Cambria Road and come in, then Bear Lake Road is not paved. It is. I was down it yesterday. It's not in bad shape, but you definitely get dust on your vehicle. So, and the other item I have is that the committee for the 800 megahertz radio project, they do have some informational literature. If anyone is interested in having some of that, I can see that it gets to you.
Yeah, if you get some, I could pass it on tonight as I go
Sure.
around. If
Yeah.
you get some to me before we leave today. Is that all you?
That's all I have.
Okay. Well, I've only got two of you to ask. How much time do you think we're gonna spend on the audit? Marty sent me a message so Terry's planning on coming to the next meeting as well. Do we wanna spend, I've got Ken Telsman on at 9:10. Do we wanna plan on about 35, 40 minutes with him, or?
Well, we need to have some discussion first before we add Terry onto the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
So,
So you and I need to sidebar.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
and that contract negotiations. So
Understand. Let's try and touch base tomorrow on that, please. Either of us can, I'll try you or you try me, but then we can figure out if we want Terry on next meeting or a future meeting. So that's all I've got, was trying to follow up on that. So, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Follow up on
Yeah.
program I thought you had.